Thank you for watching. Okay, so here we are going to do color swatches for our primary colors. What I'm doing is just penciling in the sizes of my color swatches so I have a little guide. We're going to do yellow, red, and blue. And I'm going to start with the yellow here. And what I'm doing is mixing a lot of color onto my brush. I'm getting it really thick and really saturated because I want the pigment to be as dark as it can get pretty much. So I'm going pretty dark here, or pretty thick as far as the pigment. Then when my brush goes out of the camera, I'm just dipping it in water. And I didn't dip it in enough water because, as you'll see, I kind of run out and I blotted it too much there. That's on a wet sponge. So what I do is I just kind of make the best of it here, go all the way down as much as I can. Then I just start with the red and I will have them meet in the middle to make orange. So you would think it's easy. You can do it in 1, 2, 3. This is pretty thick paper. This is the Arches 140 cold press, so it takes a lot of water, a lot of saturation, but I didn't want to do too much because I didn't want it to get too thin. I like the pigment kind of thick because I want to see the true colors. I didn't want it too thinned out. So now I'm really just wetting the paper. I'm going to get some more yellow and bring the yellow down. And it's kind of like the first layer, just really getting it nice and wet. This is a Mimic Kolinsky size 8 brush that I really like. I really enjoy it. It holds a lot of water and you can get really precise and some really good detail. So I'm not speeding this up because I wanted you guys to see real time that, this takes a while. This isn't like 1, 2, 3, super easy to do. Watercolor is a challenge and it takes a while, especially when you're new to it and you're getting used to everything. You just got to take your time and practice, practice, practice. So you see, now that the paper is saturated with water, now I can really blend. So I'm going to go now dip in the yellow. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth from the red to the yellow and really try to get a nice orange that blends in really well together. So now I did the yellow with a lot more water on my brush, a lot more saturated yellow. So now you can see how it's blending really nicely and getting an orange. So the yellow that I'm using is Winsor Yellow, Professional Winsor Yellow, Winsor Red, Professional Watercolor, and the blue is Cobalt Blue. So all these colors and all these tones that we get with just 3 colors. It's amazing, right? So here I am just kind of blotting and blending and blotting and blending, and it's an exercise, so I'm just kind of playing around, and I want it to be informative so you can kind of see a little bit what happens. So when you're doing it, you know what to expect, and you know you're not supposed to do this super quickly. It takes time. Okay, so here we go with the blue. This is the cobalt blue, and I brought some over from the main block that I have. So it's watered down here. It's a little too watered down. I go back and grab some more pigment and try to get, again, as much as possible I can on the brush. So here it is. You can see it's a little darker. So I just go over it again. And again, here I am just really wetting the paper. Nice, calm, soothing, relaxing strokes back and forth. And the trick is really just to find that ratio of water to paint on your paper, then figuring out the ratio of water on your brush to when your paper is damp, to figure out that ratio. And that just takes practice. That just takes time. And this is a great exercise to do the practice. So you can see my yellow is pretty thick. It's a little bit more opaque than the blue, than the cobalt. So I have to really thin it out here. And then it's pretty watered down here. So I'm just getting the blue a little more saturated, and then I'll start blending the two and we'll get a nice green. And I'm rinsing my brush with water after every color, so I have a nice clean brush before I change color. Like right now I'm going to go to the yellow, so I'm just washing out my brush and damping it on a wet sponge and finding that ratio. And I'm hardly touching the paper too. I'm going very lightly, and I'm just playing around with the water on the paper. I'm just moving around the water and the pigment and letting it absorb and seeing what happens. So it takes a little time. So you can see the yellow and the red is drying, and it's coming out a little smoother. It looks pretty good. After it dries, it looks totally different. So you never know what you're going to get. Rinsing out my brush, thinning out the yellow there. Okay, so here we go with some red, getting some red on there. Any minute now? Okay. And again, the red is pretty opaque, it's pretty thick, it's Windsor red. So I've got it pretty dark there, pretty thick. So then I go and I add a little water to my brush. I'm just dipping my water. Now I'm going to blend it out, get the paper wet. The paper is just really dry. It's just sucking up all this water. So I'm just getting it in there, getting it in those grooves. Again, I'm getting more blue, picking up a lot of pigment. I want my blue to be nice and strong. I can tell you right now it's not strong enough. I'm going to go back for some more. There we go. And I want to go pretty quickly. I don't want to wait too long because I don't want my red color there. I don't want that to dry. I really want to get my blue in there while it's still wet so I can blend it. So now I'm just picking up the red, trying to get it to blend to a nice purple. And I'm rinsing out my brush. I'm going to pick up a little more red here. Bring the red down. And blend, so we have a nice little purple. And again, I'm really gently, I'm hardly touching the paper. Just a little whisper. There we go, we're getting a nice little purple there. I'm going to probably add some more blue here. Yeah, rinsing out my brush with water. Going to add some more blue. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Rinsing out my brush. Going to add a little more red. Going to try to get that funky line right there. Smooth that out. And you can see I just drop it in there. Since the paper is already wet, I just kind of drop a little pigment in there and it runs down by itself. My easel is on about a 20% incline. So here we go, working it a little bit more with the blue, and I got a decent purple that I liked. This is the, again, the Winsor red and cobalt blue, which is a decent, gives a decent purple. Other colors like quinacridone purple, quinacridone violet, and a red can give you like this really vibrant purple and violet. So you just kind of have to play around with the colors. I was drawing it there with the craft blow dryer because it always looks so different. So here they are completely dry, and yeah, they did okay. So have fun and play, play, play. It's the best way to get better, and as long as you enjoy it, that's the best way to do it.